Welcome to Fresh Music Freaks, your online source for upfront music and industry news, music festival, and in-depth interviews. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Freak Show. I'm a freak. Are you?
Hello, this is Nadine with Fresh Music Freaks, and I'm sitting here with trance and house producer and DJ TASADI. He's had quite the illustrious career with releases on Armada Music, Black Hole Recordings, and Spinnin' Records. And most recently, he's had an amazing release on Orion Nilsson's label, in my opinion. And I've got to say, we're all very excited about your comeback over the last couple of years, especially with your most recent release, Somewhere Far Away. So what fueled the meaning behind this track?
Yeah, first of all, great to be here. Thank you for having me. And it's great to be back. So it's fantastic. So for this particular track, you're referring to my newest one, Somewhere Far Away, kind of what fueled that. So that one, I wanted to go a little bit outside the box that I usually did. Usually I go a little bit more trancey with my style in the past, but I kind of wanted to culminate some different styles on this one. So I brought some things from house and some EDM and tried to go a little bit more generalist on this one, but still keep that nice groove and still keep that nice, trancey melodic feel to it. It's kind of the thought process that came behind this.
Yeah, very nice. It's a very great track. I love the electro feel. I'm a trance person. I love trance everything, but I'm actually pretty good friends with Orion. So I love what he does too. I love what he's putting out on his label. And I like the electro sound too. It's definitely very danceable. And
Awesome.
with it being a vocal track too, I'm always curious to find out what's it like working with vocalists on tracks?
So I love working with vocalists on tracks, especially when it's more of a collaborative project. A lot of times these days, people are just taking top lines and doing this with them. But what I like to do is really get with a vocalist and kind of shoot ideas back and forth with them and kind of really make it a collaborative effort. And that was one of the cases with this. And actually the vocalist on this is one I used in the past on a lot of my album tracks. So we already have a pretty good relationship with each other. So I very much prefer it, actually.
Yeah, I know. I've always I love vocals, love vocal trance. And I had mentioned earlier, so you kind of made sort of a comeback relatively recently. You took a bit of a break from producing between 2015 to 2020. So what were you up to in the meantime?
So I was focusing on many different things during that time. For a while, I actually went into engineering path, but I was still very much involved with music. I worked with In Music, which is actually the parent company of M Audio and Alesis and a lot of the big brands. And I was actually a software engineer over there. So I was actually doing a lot of the programming and design, a lot of the Akai is another brand of theirs, some of their Akai hardware, some of the M Audio hardware. So I was still very much involved in the music scene, just not from a producer or DJ sense during that time. I did that for a while. I went back and advanced a little bit in education as well. I actually have a second master's from Harvard that I did during that time. So yeah, so I did some of that during that time, and then I love the music so much. I was like, I can't not do it. I got to come back to it. So I missed it for a while. Obviously, COVID happened. That got me to the studio much more. So that's kind of the story. Now I'm here back full-fledged with it.
Yeah, very nice. Kind of answered my next question there, because I was going to ask you what inspired to make the comeback, but you kind of answered that one already. And you mentioned also a little bit before with the album. So very soon after the hiatus had ended, you put together an artist album, Starsphere. And can you just tell a little bit about the process of putting that whole thing together?
Yeah, sure. So during that hiatus, when I was gone, at times I would dabble in the studio a little bit here and there, nothing really professionally, but just I would find little pockets of time, and I had some ideas and I would put some ideas together. And it got to the point that I had so many different ideas, and I showed a couple of my friends and they're like, hey, these are pretty good. You should make these official tracks. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they're just ideas right now. It takes a lot of time to put an album together. And then, as I said earlier, COVID came about, and I'm like, hey, you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to do so. So I was locked in the studio for a while. I took all these different ideas and I kind of put them all together and made a fusion. And I call the album Starsphere, and it's kind of a collection of a lot of different bits and pieces from the past few years. So you'll get a lot of different genres, a lot of different types of styles, all coming into one album, and that's kind of how that came together.
Yeah, very nice. I listened to it the other day. Actually, it's very good. You're right. You literally hit like all the entire spectrum of electronic music pretty much. And you know, like you mentioned, it takes a long time to put an album together. So tell me, like, what are some of the challenges and some of the high points of making an album, like the pluses, the minuses, like what's it all about?
Yeah, sure. So this is actually my second artist album. And one thing that I learned from my previous one was a long time ago, was on Lost Language, maybe
Wow,
12 or 13 years
that's
ago.
a long time.
That's a long time
That's
ago.
like back in the vinyl era.
Yeah, I think that album came out in '09. So
Okay.
I started that album in maybe '07 or 6 or 7.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's been a while since then. And one thing that I learned, I guess one thing that really helped me out a lot is I got into the process of not finalizing tracks until I kind of got to the end, because what kind of happens on the album is you'll finish a couple tracks, and then if you have, let's say, like a 15 track album or 14 track album, it's like a year later that you're doing the other ones, and then yeah, you have so many new ideas and you got to go back and redo the first ones. Different artists do this different ways. Some like, okay, I'm gonna finish this and finish this and finish this and finish this. I like to kind of get all of them into about 80 or 90% done, then I come back and just finalize all of them towards the end when I have all my ideas together, and kind of gives it a story and lets it flow better too, I find. So that's one of the things I do differently on the album, let's say, versus a single.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody has a different workflow when it comes to making music, especially an album.
Yeah.
So I can imagine. And now I know this is a very difficult question to answer because it's like choosing your favorite child. But what is your favorite track, if you have one? And if so, why?
From my album
Yeah.
or
From the album. Yeah.
from the album? That's a difficult one.
It is.
If I had to pick one, it would probably be Show Me the Light. That track has a lot of history behind it. It's with one of my old and dear friends, Arias, who now goes by Gallon Rowe, actually. He's actually blind, but he's an amazing music producer, and he's amazing on the keyboard and keys. And he inspired me a lot through his journey, because somebody obviously lacking sight to still have so much passion behind doing music and all the struggles he goes through. So we came together and we started making that track, and we reached out to Christina Novelli actually a while back to do the vocals on that track. And that track went through a lot of different versions, and it went through a lot of different things through the times, but I think we finally got it right on the album. And that track is definitely a special one to me, just because of the history and the people involved on that particular track.
Yeah. And it's probably one of my top tracks off the album as well. And ever since you released the album, you've been steadily releasing some incredible tracks. Do you have anything in the pipeline that's coming out soon that you can tell us about?
I have a lot. Hopefully I don't get killed for saying this, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I have a couple of singles coming out, of course. I have a collaboration coming out with Warren Nilsson,
Okay.
and
Very
I have a collaboration coming out with Coma as well.
Oh, love him.
Yeah, so there's some good stuff. There's some good juicy stuff. So stay tuned for what's to come.
That's gonna be banging. I'm gonna be hearing those on the dance floor. I already know it. And with all the like live events that are happening globally too, you know, especially like you have so many good tracks out, and I know you want to play them live. So do you have any live events planned coming up soon?
There's nothing planned soon, but I'm hoping that pretty soon, I'll be starting to go to lots of them, because I know there's some juicy ones coming up. We're finally seems like the world's getting a little bit better from the COVID sense.
Mhm.
Things are opening up finally.
Yep.
So I'm hoping soon, I'm going to be doing some touring and traveling again.
Very cool. I would love to see you play. And lastly, is there anything you want to say to your fans?
Yeah, I definitely want to say thank you for all the support through all the years. I know a lot of you didn't like it when I left the scene, and now coming back, I've gotten a lot of nice messages that people are glad to see me back. I'm here full fledged. I appreciate all the amazing support. It's definitely a fire that keeps me going. So a big thanks and big love to all the fans out there and for all the support of the different music through the ages.
Yes, and thank you for letting me have you today here with Fresh Music Freaks. And this is Nadine signing out.
Thanks a lot, Nadine. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
You too.